From manipulating El to spy on the Soviets to releasing a Demogorgon, Dr. Brenner is no popular guy, but there's still someone rooting for the crazy scientist to return in Season 5. And it's none other than the man who plays him. Here's everything we know so far. Now, as y'all probably remember, Season 4 didn't exactly end on a good note for Brenner. Our precious Papa took a bullet to the chest while trying to protect El, so the fandom thinks he is very dead and won't be making an appearance on the screen. But like I said, Matthew Modine thinks otherwise. The American actor graced the BAFTA's red carpet recently and was asked if his character really was dead, to which Matthew replied, "I wish I knew. He loves Millie. He loves the Duffer Brothers and Sean Levy."
And Millie Bobby Brown, who I have most of my work with on the show, all of my work with, is just the loveliest, kindest, grounded person that you ever met.
For him, Stranger Things was a wonderful show to work on, and so he hopes that there's some way to resuscitate Dr. Brenner because he would love the opportunity to be back in Season 5. Dr. Brenner already surprised us when we discovered that he was alive and working on a project to restore El's powers in Nevada in Season 4. Modine pointed out how his character has survived everything up to this point. He survived a Demogorgon attack in Season 1, so he kinda knows a thing or two about cheating death, and might just make a return in the final season. But why is Matthew so darn enthusiastic about it? Well, he thinks that Brenner is central to El's story. Even though Brenner did kinda torture El for a good part of her life, he and El share a special connection, and Season 5 is about tying up all the loose ends. The Duffers can't have a final conclusion without Brenner. He raised 11. Sure, he did manipulate her for her own purposes, using her to spy on the Soviets, but the Doctor is the second closest thing El has to a father, and you can't just bury that sort of relationship. Also, let's not forget that Brenner was the one who unlocked El's powers. She is going to be up against Vecna for a final showdown in Season 5, and when that happens, she might need a push. And who better than Brenner to do it? While I think most of the fandom will be fine with Brenner making a comeback, I do have to ask, isn't Brenner dead? Kinda hard for a guy to come back from a fatal bullet wound. So how does Matthew think he'll be part of the final season? Well, Dr. Brenner could show up in a flashback. El is gonna be haunted by the events of the Hawkins laboratory forever, and so the possibility of her seeing Brenner in a dream is not totally out of the window. And you know what solidifies this theory even more? Season 4 kinda already did it. Yes, I am talking about the neighborhood hot guy Billy Hargrove making a return. When Max was attacked by Vecna, she saw an almost real version of her stepbrother in her memories. She even talked to him. So the blueprint for bringing up dead characters is kinda already out there. In the event that Vecna gets hold of El, he could pull the same trick he pulled on Max with her, aka manipulating her with a dead person from her past, aka Dr. Brenner. Interestingly, Matthew is not the only one talking about Dr. Brenner's return. The Duffer Brothers brought him up during their appearance on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. Both Ross and Matt Duffer cleared up the air regarding Modine's character. Fans had some questions about whether Brenner really did die. Sure, he was shot, but this is television. An ambulance could have come by as soon as we looked away. Luckily, the makers removed the confusion by confirming that Brenner was dead. For real this time. Fans were kinda glad about that, considering all the pain he caused. But the question is, where does the fandom stand on Dr. Brenner returning in a flashback? Well, we have a lot of opinions. One Reddit user explained how they'd be pretty annoyed if Brenner came back. Well, their exact words were, "Get back in the ground." Yikes. Another fan pointed out that Brenner coming back alive isn't too out of the question, because guess what? Stranger things have happened. Get it? Some fans were excited about Papa making a return, calling him the best villain on the show. Unfortunately, others in the fandom have been less enthusiastic, to put it mildly. Another user hoped that Brenner never comes back, even for flashbacks. They don't think the Doctor has anything else to add to the story, and even pointed out that Modine has an inaccurate view of the character. While everyone is entitled to an opinion, I do think fans like these need to keep an open mind, because Modine has big plans for his character. He has an entire storyline planned out. Matthew hopes that Elle will forgive Papa in the final season. When Brenner got shot during the raid by the US military, Elle didn't exactly seem like the forgiving type. She watched him cough up his own blood as he explained how she was her family and how everything he did was to protect her. But no tears were shed as Elle simply got up and said, "Bye, Papa." That said, Modine thinks that forgiveness is the most powerful thing in the universe. During his interview with J14, Matthew explained that if he was the one writing the last season, this would be the direction he chooses. In the last season, Elle realized that her power comes from anger, but the 63-year-old wants her to realize that the power of love is much stronger than the power of hate, especially at this moment in the history of humanity when there are all these wars going on. It would be great for Elle to share the power of forgiveness and love with the world. How do fans feel about this? Well, most of them are not happy. A huge chunk of the fandom believes that forgiveness should be earned, not given. And in their eyes, Brenner has done nothing to redeem himself. And forgiving Brenner is not central to Elle's story. She has people she loves, and that's where she gets her strength from. Some even compared the relationship between Elle and Brenner to that between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. While that's a joke, what's not a joke is the fact that Brenner never asked Elle for forgiveness. Even when he was dying, he asked for absolution, and that he did not deserve. Clearly, there's a lot of heat in the fandom surrounding Brenner's return, and it'll all simmer down once season 5 comes out. When will it come out, though? Well, sorry to disappoint, but no one knows. Season 5 is set to go into production this year in May, so I'd give it a year or so before we get to see our favorite bike-riding kids back on screen. Finn Wolfhard kinda pooped the party when he said that the final season could air in 2025, but we're keeping our fingers crossed for 2024. Speaking of Finn, he is gonna be returning to the show along with everyone else from the main cast. Looks like no one has backed out. The jury is still out on Joseph Quinn's Eddie Munson's return. Like Dr. Brenner, there are speculations that Eddie could return in a flashback or something. We'll just have to wait and see. Hopefully, all our questions get answered soon. And that's all the deets I have about Dr. Brenner's return for season 5.